Hello everyone, welcome to the series of lectures on database systems. In this video we will see how we can retrieve data from the database. So actually this is the select from SQL statement that we can use to retrieve the data from the database. Actually the select from statement can retrieve data from one or more tables. So simplest form of this statement is something like this. You have the select keyword and then there is a star and then from keyword and then you have the table name. So it reads as select all from table name. So this can retrieve the data from the table name, whatever the name of the table can be. So it will retrieve or show all the data present in the table. So let's see how we can access the data. So to retrieve all columns and all the rows, so we can use the statement like this. So select all from employee is the statement that is used to select all the columns and all the rows from the employee table. So actually this star asterisk is the wildcard, and it says that all the columns. So we are interested in all the columns in the table that may be in the table. So this simple statement select all from employee, what it does, it retrieves all the values for all the columns and all the rows in the employee table. So this is shown below. So this is the whole data present in this employee table. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns, and then we have these rows and the data in the columns for these rows. So this is the simplest statement to retrieve actually all the columns and all the rows. It is also possible to retrieve specific columns from the table, and we call this operation as a projection operation. So here is how we can retrieve specific columns and all the rows and the data for all the rows. So this projection operation is actually applying vertical cuts to the table. So for example, this diagram shows we have a table, and then we are interested in selecting or seeing data for the specific columns. For example, we have selected the column 1, and then column 2 is not selected, and then third column is selected, and then finally fifth column is selected. So actually we are interested in the first, third and fifth columns. So the data present in all these columns will be shown. So the columns 2 and 4, their data will not be shown, so because we have not selected them. So here's how we can select specific columns. So after the select keyword, we can actually list the columns that we are interested in to show their data. So we have selected here EMP ID, first name and salary. Actually we have selected these 3 columns, so we are interested in seeing the data for these 3 columns from the employee table. So what it will do, it will select all the rows from the employee table, but it will show only the data for the columns EMP ID, first name, salary. So this is how we see the data. So previously we would see all the columns, but now we only see the columns that we have listed in the select statement. So EMP ID, first name and salary columns data is shown. So this is how you can actually apply and specify selected columns for the table. Also, it is also possible to actually show the data for the columns that are not present in the data in the table. So we can actually show the data for the columns that are actually not stored in the table per se, but their values can be derived from the other columns. So we call these columns as computed or derived columns. So let's see an example below. So for example, we are interested to show the full name of an employee. So actually we know that inside the table we have two columns, first name and the last name. So employee's name is split into two columns, but it is also possible to combine the data for these two columns and show the full name of an employee. So how we can do this? We can do this like this. So we actually select the first name, and then there is a concatenation operator. It says to concatenate the value of the first name, and then we have the space, and then we have another concatenation operator, and then we have the last name column. So what actually it says that we are combining or concatenating the values of the first name and the last name separated with a space. And then in the output table we name this column as full name. So this is the name of the column, and we specify the name of the new column with the as keyword. And also we can show for example, the yearly salary of employee, because we know the salary of the employee that is stored in the table is the monthly salary, but we can actually calculate the yearly salary of the employee. And we can do this by multiplying the salary of the employee with 12. So we have the 12 months in a year. So we will then have the salary of the employee that is in the form of a year. So we can actually name the new column as a yearly salary, and we again use the as keyword. So in the output table, the column name will be yearly salary. So in principle, we are selecting the employee ID and the full name of the employee, and then yearly salary of all the employees in the employee table. So this is how we see the output table. So we have the EMP ID, we have the full name, and then we have the yearly salary of all the employees. So this is how we can actually show the data for the columns that are not actually stored. For example, it is also possible to, for example, to calculate the age of the employee if we have the date of birth. So we can actually calculate the age of the employee also. So the age actually will be the calculated column or derived or computed column. So we can actually practice these queries that we have seen in this video in live SQL. So let's see. So we have here a live SQL session on, and then we have the employee table that we have already created here. So we can actually paste the query here. So select all from employee, and then we can run the query. And we see that the all the data for the table is shown here. So this is the query we have already seen. And then it is also possible to, for example, select specific columns. Let's say we are interested in EMP ID. We are interested in the first name, and then we are interested in, say, salary, and then let's say designation. So we select these 4 columns from the employee table. So all the data for these columns will be shown. So here we see the output. For example, we can also see the salary as, for example, monthly salary, and then we can also have the salary multiplied by 12 as yearly salary. So we can see. So here we see that we have the monthly salary, and this is the monthly salary, the something that is actually stored in the table. And then we have the yearly salary for all the employees, but this is the value that is calculated from this stored column. So yearly salary is actually not stored, but we can see the value for this column. And then for example, we can, for example, show the full name of the employee. So we can do this like this. So concatenation operator, and then we are separating the name with a space and another concatenation operator, and then we have finally the last name, and we name this column as for example full name. So here we go. So this is the full name for the employee. So we see previously we just had the first name, but now we have the full name. So that this is the name that is actually combined from the first name and the last name columns. So this is it, and thank you for watching, and please keep watching.